At least 10 people have been hurt in clashes in Kiev as police moved in to clear an anti-government protest camp near Parliament. It was set up by supporters of opposition leader and ex-Georgian President Mikhail Saakashvili, recently deported from Ukraine to Poland. Dozens of people were detained. A powerful storm has left a trail of destruction in the northeastern United States. Falling trees and branches have killed at least 7 people, among them a 6-year-old boy struck as he slept at home. Coastal Massachusetts is just one of the areas on flood alert, while heavy snow in parts of New York has not only hampered pedestrians and motorists, hundreds of flights have been cancelled too. In Europe, the big freeze has claimed more than 60 lives, some 20 of the victims in Poland alone. While locals battled with the elements in Croatia, tourists were thrilled to see one of the country's most famous waterfalls largely frozen. Major roads in northern and southwest England have been badly hit by snow, trapping passengers in their vehicles for hours on end. Public transport, including the railways, has been severely affected, though slowly climbing temperatures are helping get some services back on track. And as Italians decide who to vote for in this weekend's election, the cold snap has created chaos for voters and visitors alike. Scenes like this at Bologna Airport mean some have been forced to stay in town longer than planned.
Almost $500 billion
Donald Trump repeatedly says he wants to put America first. But his plans to raise tariffs on imported steel and aluminium have created concern across the world. Critics say the hike will kick off a bitter trade war. But the US president has signaled he's ready to fight. In a now customary tweet, Trump said with the USA losing billions, he is ready to go toe-to-toe with any country that gets cute. In response, the European Union has called the measure blatant protectionism and promised to act firmly.
Protectionism cannot be the answer to our common problem in the steel sector. Instead of providing a solution, this move can only aggravate matters. The EU has been a close security ally of the US for decades. We will not sit idly while our industry is hit with unfair measures that put thousands of European jobs at risk. The EU will react firmly and commensurately to defend our interests.
The 25% duty on steel and 10% on aluminium will be formally set next week. Brussels will join other countries in challenging the measures at the World Trade Organization.
Sharp-suited Luigi Di Maio is 31 years old and the youngest candidate to be Italy's next Prime Minister in Sunday's elections. He also happens to be the candidate of the Five Star Movement, the populist anti-EU party that threatens to upend the political status quo and scare the markets. If he does win, Europe will be jolted by another youthquake, following on from Austria, who also elected a 31-year-old, Sebastian Kurz, to be their Chancellor last year. And before that it was France, who elected 39-year-old Emmanuel Macron. Di Maio was a website designer, a lawyer and a journalist before he became the youngest ever Deputy Speaker of the Italian Parliament at just 26. His party was founded in 2009 by Beppe Grillo, who was at that time a scruffily dressed comedian. Grillo has always opposed the European Union, as well as the euro, and he's even raised the idea of a referendum on leaving the EU. Di Maio has taken a softer tone, saying it would only be held in extreme circumstances. But if a referendum were to be held and Italy pulled out of the euro, it might put the currency's very existence into question.
Italy heads to the polls this Sunday for an election expected to go to the wire. A hung parliament remains the most likely outcome, with no political party or coalition appearing to have enough support to win a clear majority. In Rome, some voters still don't know who they will choose.
I have not decided. I'm so confused. I go and I vote, but I really don't know which is the right vote for Italy.
We hope that a little bit of order in the country. This is our hope. I think a lot of people, Italian people, this is the same idea.
On Friday, all the major parties held final campaign rallies. The comeback kid of Italian politics, former Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi, is barred from holding public office. But polls suggest his centre-right alliance, which includes La Liga, run by Matteo Salvini, could become the largest bloc. Another populist party which could see a surge in support is the anti-establishment Five Star movement, led by 31-year-old Luigi Di Maio. Another former Prime Minister, Matteo Renzi, is spearheading the centre-left Democratic Party's challenge.
When the quiet and unassuming diplomat Paolo Gentiloni became Italy's Prime Minister in 2016, few analysts thought he would last very long. His appointment was seen as a containment move by the outgoing Prime Minister Matteo Renzi, who'd resigned after losing a referendum on constitutional reform. But now, in the run-up to Sunday's parliamentary election, Gentiloni is looking stronger. Born into an aristocratic Roman family, his reserved character could not be more opposed to scandal-tainted Silvio Berlusconi, who is still dominating Italian politics. If, as often happens, there's another hung parliament, Gentiloni is more likely to stay on as Prime Minister. In the past 2 years, he's proved he's a safe pair of hands in addressing the migrant crisis, as well as the upheaval in Libya that has fueled it. Back in 2014, he was plucked from obscurity by Renzi, who appointed him Foreign Minister. In 2013, he ran for the mayor of Rome, but only came third. He's a familiar face on the international stage too. In 2017, he hosted heads of state, including US President Donald Trump, for a G7 meeting in Sicily. Within Europe, he has the backing of French President Emmanuel Macron. Both Germany and France have held elections where a new wave of populism threatened to upend the political status quo. And like many of his fellow European leaders, it's now Gentiloni's turn to do battle with populism at the ballot box.
Voila.
Tensions with Taiwan were played down at the opening session of the advisory body, the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference in Beijing. It comes after state media warned China could go to war over Taiwan if a US bill promoting closer ties with the island becomes law.
A protest outside Bayer's crop science headquarters in France. These people are angry that the German drugs and crop chemicals maker is on course to win conditional EU antitrust approval for its multi-billion euro bid for the world's #1 seed company, Monsanto. Today we're fighting a battle for public health, he says, for biodiversity, but also for the farmers. We're fighting against agrochemicals, agro-industry, but certainly not against the farmers. The takeover would create a company with a share of more than a quarter of the world's seed and pesticides market. This has triggered protests from environmental and farming groups worried about the market power of big conglomerates. EU Competition Commissioner Margrethe Vestager has received more than 50,000 petition emails and more than 5,000 letters opposed to the deal. Could this be the endgame in Ghouta? Syrian government forces aim to advance into the region east of Damascus, one bite at a time. That's according to a pro-government commander. They've taken control of some villages in the area of Miraj and have made notable advances on the western edge of the rebel enclave at Harasta, the spokesman says. This despite a UN resolution calling for a 30-day countrywide truce. What truce, he says. Call this a truce. 10 days of constant strikes and we're hiding in basements. Russian strikes and barrel bombs. What truce? What sort of government is this? Monitors say the government bombardment of Ghouta has killed 617 people since February the 18th. Intensified rebel shelling of government-held areas of Damascus has reportedly killed 27. Rebel sources could not be reached for comment on Friday.
Televidente, ku e Notisia Internacional, nossa passo por um espaço comercial, ora nossa back.
e Deportes CBA.